Hello, I'm Nicola. Thanks for joining me in the parent training video. I've spent the last few years completing a research master's on the Mastery Learning Folder process to ensure that it aligns with research in cognitive psychology. If you have any questions or need any further information, please feel free to get in touch via email, and I wish you all the best. I'd like to start with a little exercise for your training. I'd like you to see how many of these 17 numbers you can remember. So just take a little time to take a look at them, and then I'm going to take them away. Okay, how did you go? On average, we can remember maybe 6 or less. If you remembered more than that, congratulations. That certainly isn't how well I would do. So I would like you now to see how many of these 17 letters you can remember. I feel fairly confident that you would be able to repeat those 17 letters quite easily, and there's a reason for that. This little exercise is demonstrating the difference between working memory and long-term memory. You'd be able to remember those letters because you have an understanding of the sound symbol relationships between the alphabet and the sound. You know what the words mean. You know what a sentence is. So many things you're bringing down into your working memory as a chunk because you've got that knowledge in long-term memory. So that's why it's so important for us to get your child's knowledge into their long-term memory and not just sitting in the working memory. This is what Kirshner, Sweller and Clark, some well-known researchers in cognitive psychology, have stated. If nothing has changed in long-term memory, nothing has been learned. So that is our goal in using Mastery Learning Folders. Erickson and Poole did a study on the habits and practices of very high achievers across many different areas, and they found that their abilities boiled down to deliberate practice. And I'm sure you would know from your own personal experience that practice really is the key. What we want to do is we want to use the most effective practice strategies. Cognitive psychology has identified that spacing out learning across time is very effective. Practicing retrieving learning or recalling the learning, called retrieval practice, this is super important and very effective. Interleave practice means just mixing up practice examples. So rather than taking a particular type of mathematics sum, for example, and practicing pages and pages of them, mix up different types of mathematics questions for practice. And then elaboration is just explaining our thinking or asking our child to explain how they remembered or what their understanding is. This reinforces memory pathways. If you'd like to learn more about the learning science of these strategies that are used in the Mastery Learning Folder, that's a website that you can go to. Your child's folder may look like this or this, depending on their age. These are the pockets that you're going to be focusing on. And this is what the folder will look like when you first receive it. You'll be starting your tutor testing from the pocket that says start or tutor testing, but if there isn't any content in those pockets, then you'll move backwards through the pocket till you find the one that has content in it. For the purposes of the demonstration in the video, I'll be starting with the pockets fully populated with flashcards. You'll notice that there's both test and rest pockets. Retrieval practice occurs in the test pockets, and the rest pockets just expand the spaced interval between tests for the flashcards in those pockets. Your child's folder may contain subject-specific content like maths, or it might contain cross-curricular content as displayed here. If your child does have mixed content, then what you will want to do as you pull out the content from each pocket is simply to rearrange it into subject areas. You can then gather those flashcards into your hand and proceed with the retrieval test. You'll notice that the top of the flashcard has a description of what is expected of the content. You'll see here that the math flashcard is 10 take away 4, and what you're looking for is that they can remember their friends of 10 to help them with this subtraction fact. So the fact that 4 goes with 6 to make 10, they'll use that to work out the answer. And secondly, just a point about the individualized spelling, you will call out the word and then you'll ask your child to write it down and not say the letters out loud. So now I'll take you through one folder session. The flashcards that you see here are arranged as they might appear after a week or so, and because there's flashcards in the tutor testing pocket, that is where we're going to begin. In general, what happens when testing is if the flashcard is remembered, it moves forward to the next pocket. If it's not remembered or demonstrated, it is placed aside till all the flashcards in the pocket have been tested, and then the incorrect flashcards are returned to the same pocket. So you can see that there are 4 steps. The first step is to rearrange the flashcards in your hand as you take them out of each pocket. I'm not doing that for the demonstration because I'm only using a small number of flashcards. After that, the next thing is to test the flashcards. So this phonic sound, was remembered. Flashcards that test correctly from the tutor testing pocket leave the tutor stage and move into the pockets addressed by the teacher. So every time this happens, a new flashcard is transferred from the store pocket into the first active pocket. So returning to this flashcard, you could ask your child how they remembered it, or ask them if they know a word that has the sound. Let's go back to this testing pocket, and this word was unable to be sounded out, so you could ask your child what sounds they did know, ask them for some rhyming words, for example. And this flashcard here could not be demonstrated, so maybe you could do a little demonstration with some objects about how to add them together. Both of these flashcards were incorrect, and so they return to the same pocket. We now move backwards to the next pocket, which is a rest pocket. So these flashcards are moved up as a bundle and are not tested. This just creates a greater spaced interval before those flashcards are tested the next time. Going backward through the pockets, this word could be sounded out, and so it moves forward. This word, however, could not be sounded out, and so you could talk about those sounds. It returns to the same pocket. The student is asked to add these coins together, and they were able to do that. And this flashcard could also be sounded out. Moving backwards to the next pocket, is this half? The student could correctly identify that that was half. You could also at this time ask them for something in the room that could be divided into half evenly. This flashcard is subtracting with friends of 10. So you would be asking them how they could use what they know about friends of 10 to come up with the answer for this question. They didn't know who was friends with 4, so you could talk a little bit more about the number combinations that go together to make 10. And this is coin recognition, and they were not able to recognize that coin, so that went back into the same pocket. To help them with this content, you might like to talk to them about the numbers on the coin, 5 and a 0 making 50, or you might like to look at some coins together. This is what the folder would look like at the next session, and we're going to use this for you to have a little bit of retrieval practice. So after each question, if you wish, pause the video and have that thinking time, that struggle time, to try to remember exactly what happens at each point of the process. So the first question is, where will you begin testing from? You'll start at the tutor testing pocket. However, if there isn't flashcards in that pocket, you'll move backwards through the pocket till you hit the first one that has flashcards in it and start from there. The second question is, what will you do at each pocket if you have mixed content in the folder? You're going to remove the flashcards from the pocket prior to testing and just rearrange them into subject areas before you start. This flashcard is incorrect. So what will you do with this flashcard? First of all, you'll ask questions to check for understanding, and then you'll give your child help as needed. And then you'll just leave the flashcard aside until you finish testing the content in that pocket. Let's imagine that this flashcard is correct. What will you do with this flashcard? Correct flashcards move forward to the next pocket. Now this has come out of the tutor testing pocket and gone into the teacher section. So something needs to happen here when this occurs. You're going to transfer a new flashcard from the store pocket into the first test pocket so that the number of flashcards remains the same. Onto the next flashcard. This is a spelling flashcard. What do you have to do for a spelling flashcard? What you'll do is you'll read out the word and you'll ask your child to write it down. This one tests correctly, and so what do you need to do now? You need to transfer another flashcard from the store pocket into the first test pocket because that spelling word has now gone out of the tutor testing stage. Finally, the pocket is complete. What will you do with this flashcard that was incorrect? That returns to the same pocket. We move backwards to the next pocket. This is a rest pocket. What happens to the flashcard in this pocket? It just moves forward without being tested. And then you move back to the next pocket. Now these remaining pockets are quite simple. All you're doing is rearranging them if you've got mixed content before you start, then testing, moving them forward if correct, or returning them to the same pocket if incorrect. And then you just make your way through those pockets to the first pocket. These pockets here are the responsibility usually of the teacher or an education assistant. However, if you're using the folder to help your child with their foundational learning independently at home, then you will also use these pockets. But the testing and the resting here in this section happens once a week. So I'm just going to go through what happens at this once a week mastery testing session with the teacher so that you know. So the teacher will begin testing from the mastery test pocket. This skip counting question was demonstrated, so it will move forward to the mastered pocket. And so was that maths question. This maths problem solving question was not able to be demonstrated, and so the teacher will be returning that to the same pocket. Now you can see this is a rest pocket, so the teacher will be moving these flashcards as a bundle up to the next pocket. These flashcards are also resting, they will move up to the next pocket. Then we have an empty pocket here that these flashcards will be going into if they're correct. First of all, what is that coin? I think that was. So that was demonstrated, that was correct. And then we have a maths question. That one wasn't able to be demonstrated. And I say demonstrated because the teacher will be looking for the strategy that they've been learning in class. And then we move back to the next pocket and these flashcards are resting, so they will move up to the test pocket. I'd just like to show you the intervals that are associated with this weekly testing. The tutor testing has intervals over days because the folder sessions are occurring from 4 to 6 times a week. So they're fairly short. There's one rest pocket in the tutor testing stage, and that might be maybe a rest of half a week. Because these sessions with the teacher are once a week, the intervals, the rest intervals, are much longer. So in this section, the content is resting for 1 to 2 weeks, and when flashcards are in this section, they're resting for 3 weeks. So this gives a very good indication of whether or not the content has been mastered. Thank you so much for your commitment to your child's education. They really are so lucky to have you. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch via email, and all the best.